Is this thing on? Are we? Yes. It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic, whatever day you're watching this. Hey, more disappointment from Dodge. Oh, man. I can't even get into this topic without laughing. And unfortunately, this is more of a laugh faux pas than haha. Dodge has announced that they are not going to be revealing the seventh last call variant because of supply chain issues. Their excuse is supply chain issues. So I got to tell you guys something. They 2020 called. They want their excuses back. If you're going to blame it on anything, God, blame it on anything else. But supply chain issues, this is embarrassing. Like how do you lack the creativity to come up with a decent excuse? It's such a sophomoric, softball excuse. That's why I just can't carry the thought without laughing. And the bigger, I guess, if you want to call it this, the bigger issue that I have is that Dodge has no reason to have a finished product at this point. Remember, 2024 is how many years away? We keep being reminded of that every time the EV is brought up. Isn't this last hurrah car supposed to be just the end of the discussion when it comes to American muscle car, the pinnacle, the absolute highest of the high? All you got to do is roll out a concept car, kind of like you rolled out at Woodward Dream Cruise. I guess the funniest part of this is that Kaniskis was on one of the talk show things, and the panel of journalists were talking to him, and part of that conversation, well, and this is Kaniskis, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it went something along this lines. Yeah, I'm introducing a concept car, and I'm being accused of being late for it. Ha ha ha. And everybody goes, ha, 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 except their ha isn't really a laugh. It's like, yeah, we've been reporting that you're going to be releasing an EV in 2024, buddy. Kind of tough to have a concept car only 1 year out from a production run. It sounds to me like you don't have your shit together. So the more that I have... the more that I've seen of this, the more I just shake my head. Dodge has disappointed so many folks. I have had so many people telling me that they are absolutely 100% done with Dodge after this rolling embarrassment train that just never seems to stop, with the latest issue being something that apparently was an unforeseen problem. Except for the fact that you're basing this new last car on existing platform technology. Literally, you could have rolled out anything. Just pick any red-eye Challenger variant, call it the whatever, and say this car is going to have blah, 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 and do this, that, and whatever. Ooh, ah, neato. Nobody would have been the wiser. All you're doing is just waiting on things to show up for this reveal. Call it a 23 model year, call it a 24, call it whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is, people are calling this embarrassing. It's no longer disappointment. See, there's a difference between being disappointed, I should say, and embarrassed. Embarrassed is after disappointment, okay? It doesn't usually come before in this case. And too many Mopar fans are already pulling the drag chute. They are getting way away from Dodge at this point, looking back at Ford, which a lot of folks do have Ford roots, and are absolutely salivating over the S650 platform. And now with the rumor, take it for what it's worth, of what is in essence a big block powered GT500, and you may as well forget about it, Dodge. Ford, let me remind you guys of something. Remember when Camaro tried to out Mustang the Mustang? And it didn't go over too well for Camaro, did it? Oh, yeah, they're going away too in 2024. Hey, remember when Dodge decided to out muscle car Ford? Or rather, when Ford was kind of done with the muscle car thing, the then GT500 with 500 pound-feet of torque, 5.4 liter supercharged platform. Last year was 2015 for that muscle car variant. First year for the Hellcat, the true muscle car, right, guys? Well, there's some Mustang fans that would like to argue that point. There's some Mustang fans that say, hey, listen, we were kind of doing the bringing it back of the muscle car thing a full 7 to 8 model years before you made it to the party. I'll show you how it's really done. And if Ford actually does what some of the rumors we're talking about, it is absolutely going to be the last word in the American internal combustion muscle car and the last word in American pony car. In other words, full house and ain't no other cards on the table at this point. Dodge is breaking camp. Camaro is already flying to the back door with nothing to show for it but a rumored 4-door EV to be named later that nobody seems to care about. Nobody's getting excited about that. As a matter of fact, nobody's even talking about it, except to say that it is the replacement for a car that they do love, and rightfully so. Camaro is an awesome car. But Camaro isn't making a fool of itself, trampling that thing all over the United States and talking about it and having Dodge garage, and or there at least there's not a Chevy garage with all these encrypted little bullshit, whatever you want to call it's out there. Open the little door. It's like those little Christmas doors that you open up. It's just, anyway, no silly, stupid games with Ford. They're just going, there you go. Yeah, we got a GT500 coming. We'll see what that thing's going to end up looking like. Probably more of the same. We might mess around, do something a little bit different. You'll just have to wait and see. We don't know yet. Who knows what Ford's going to do? But it'll be a damn sight more than what Dodge is doing. And, well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? The Ford will be left alone in the marketplace, and it'll be left alone both in the pony and in the muscle car segments. So I got to ask you guys, where are you with all of this? A little bit disappointed? A little bit bummed out? Were you getting all ready for Sema? Damn, it's a good thing we didn't book a vacation. Could you imagine having booked a vacay, hotels, everything else, already got the time off from work? Can't wait to see this new, great, awesome reveal by Dodge. Damn, somebody's popping outside. Only to have that, squirrel. Only to have those plans thwarted by supply chain issues. Funny, because you'd be able to get on that airplane and fly clear across the continent, land in another city, get out, get into another car, and ride on over to Sema, or just rent you a Hellcat while you're there. What was the name of that service again? You know the one I'm talking about. Anyway, show up to the show and have nothing to report for Dodge? That's scary. In fact, it's anyway, let me get to you guys. I don't want to drag this into too much deep water. I already did a standalone video on it. Chuck and Zan, what's up, brother? Stellantis man bun issues. Michael Zan saying, after Ford's new release, Dodge was afraid to release another sticker car, and I don't blame them for backing out at this point because we go nuts. Could you imagine? So my whole deal with these releases, there's only one that I actually like, and it's the Super Bee. It's the only one to me that actually makes sense. But could you imagine another sticker package? I mean, one that the aftermarket is going to basically lift the second that thing hits the streets. you're going to have, or before, you're going to have, you can sticker your Challenger up, sticker your Charger up to look like whatever your favorite released car was, your last chance car. God, dude. My car has best sticker because my car has last call stickers on my car. What a joke. Sovereign Zane saying, hey, B, what's up, man? Sema saying, my day is working storm shelters for the next 72 hours, and this will probably make my night. Oh, man. Yeah, Florida's about to get hit, man. Thoughts and prayers. Oh, Racer X, man, he shows up in Tampa, gets him a freaking crib, and now Mother Nature's looking to show up and hang out with him for a little bit. Good luck, bro. I know what that's like. Harvey literally went right over my house. So I get it. Chuck saying Ford's going to outdo the competition with the dark horse. Yep, they're not only going to outdo them, they're going to outlive them as well. I don't know what Sam's trying to say. It'll say Chuck saying, "Oh, hang on to my 392. They may disappear in the future." True that. And he's saying, "Hey, B Dodge is screwing the pooch right now for sure." Sovereign saying, "Stream is low resolution." That's actually the camera. This thing has got a terrible camera. I'm actually ordering a new camera rig and everything else, setting it up. So waiting to get that all in so I don't look like I'm, 1997 in a bunker somewhere. Sovereign's liking the dark horse. Sam saying, I kind of think the EPA is chokeholding everything. Here's the problem. It's easy to deal with the EPA with this. Most of these cars will pass. So what it's looking like, there's two things that can sting you though with trying to get an EO right now. EO it means executive order. All that means is that the EPA says you're good to go. So the first thing is going to be component protection, catalytic converter protection in particular, which is to say catalytic converter enrichment. The problem that you can run into with a high horsepower boosted application is that you will spike your catalytic converter temperatures potentially. And so what you do is you have to go real rich to cool off those catalytic converters. That can create a bit of an issue. The other thing is how the car is tested. If there is any loaded state with a boosted combination, loaded state, steady state conditions will in some cases command a rich mixture. And depending on how the test is run, changes in how cars are tested can affect how power enrichment can affect the final emissions of that vehicle. So it's testing procedure and components that can actually create those issues. And because of that, it's more and more difficult to be able to certify a horsepower figure when you have component protection primarily that can create usually most of your problems because it goes really, really rich. In fact, 9.5 to 1 is the richest that I've seen on any component protection, and that is the latest reflashes and the cars that are made 2021 and later do that. So anyway, EOs are kind of weird to come by with that. You can make them pass, but you just can't advertise a really big horsepower number with that. Ardell saying this is so disappointing. Ford will rule. Yeah, it looks like it. Cal is saying, I love owning a Challenger Hellcat, but it's easier to make a 9-second car with a Mustang. Well, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, yeah, it's a blower away, I guess, from being a 9-second car, but it doesn't have the durability that the Hellcat does. I mean, you got to remember, I have run 10-0s on stock boost on gasoline with my car, like no additives gasoline. So, and my car is just a gear and a set of tires and a little bit of weight reduction and my tuning. So, I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. It's all stock components. Oh, yeah. And that's through the stock catalytic converters. So, I mean, a 9-second car, 970s are cake with a 285 pulley. and 93 octane or E85 for that matter. So, yeah, Mustangs, you can run nines with them, no problem. But that's when you start getting into transmission issues. And that's a dirty little secret about the Mustangs is that, yes, you can run nines. And yes, they scream on the top end, but the trans just doesn't have the chops to back it up. And long-term solution to that is to build your transmission. Things start to get costly really quickly. But yeah, if you really want to scream, build the transmission, go twin turbo on the Mustang and watch how nasty that thing gets. Let's see. Oh, Sovereign's not loving EVs right now. Cal is saying Dodge is taking the Clark Griswold approach. Hey, Tad, thank you very much, buddy. Saying Dodge gave its customer base the middle finger. I think they gave them both of them. Appreciate the contribution, buddy. But yeah, I would certainly agree with that. They that doesn't look good. It's not a good look at all. Steven saying maybe Dodge gets his stuff together in a few years, maybe. Someone saying Dodge pulled out of Sema. Yep. Saying no one fast 29. Not this time around. Maybe they'll do it at PRI, but not at Sema. Who knows? I have no idea. Chuck saying nobody in my entire family will ever buy an EV with that. With what they have told me. So I'll tell you this: my wife is adamantly anti-EV for a number of reasons. But yeah, she is like, not in this house. We are not an EV household. It has to have exhaust. It has to be loud. And look, I understand it. I understand the EV as a powertrain, but I don't get the EV as it's not a topic. Okay, for me, it's just another powertrain. How do I hot rod it? How do I make it go faster? How do I incorporate it into going fast? It's not part of a message for me. I'm just trying to go fast and have fun. And the fun part is the most important. And it's tough to beat the internal combustion when it comes to that. EV's got a lot of upside though, but we are not that family. Quickie saying one thing I like about Ford is that they cater to all their models, not just the most expensive car. Even the EcoBoost have some sort of performance spec. Yes, they do. Notice they all have sport mode too. Sovereign doesn't like the EV batteries. Right there with you. Sovereign saying Toyota's take is hybrid or hydrogen, not full EV. Good plan. Ardell's not loving the EV either. Steven saying if they made a 71 CUDA replica with a V8, they would have the equivalent of a money printer. The only problem with that is that they kind of did with the Challenger. They would have to make a modern iteration of that car. The problem with the old cars, and I have, technically three if you don't count my wife's Jeep, which is her car. The problem with the old stuff is, quite frankly, it's safety. Modern cars are, it seems like they're half again heavier, and all of them have double the power. So it's, getting into a wreck in an older car is not good at all from a safety standpoint, especially if you're running into something that's more modern. But I'm with you on that. I'd like to see them do something. If they could CUDA a Challenger. You guys have seen the rebodies for the Challenger for the CUDA. I'm not talking about the Charger, which is actually a sharp car, by the way, where they rebody a Challenger to look like a 68 Charger, really sharp. But it's all it is to do the Challenger is to CUDA a Challenger. It's a grille, a rear deck. Like you change out how the taillights look, and that's kind of it. That's all you got to do. And it's a really good looking car. The grill's really good looking. Howard saying, yep, 100 years and boom, talking about that storm. And again, Tad, thank you, buddy. Oh, Sam's in Sarasota. Yeah, y'all be careful out there, man. Get your beer and your Fritos now, fellas. Oh, Mike's saying I love Southwest Florida. I hope my scat survives. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm hoping y'all are good. I know it's a big storm surge, especially with that thing whipping around and being on the bay side of Florida. So y'all hunker down, guys. Angel's asking, so any word on a 4-door sedan? Just seen 2-door prototype, doesn't have room for extra doors. I do understand that muscle car definition is 2 doors, but Dodge sold a lot more 4 doors than 2 doors. Nothing at this point. They haven't released any details on that thing. And for all we know, it could end up being a 4-door. They're calling it a Charger. The STLA large platform can incorporate 2 or 4 doors, so they can really make it whatever they want. Will Talk's asking, hey, be great, Chad, as always. Got the flex. Say, did I hear correctly that Dodge Special Editions are only going to be at dealerships? If that's true, the prices are going to be ridiculous. Yes, they're only going to be at ridiculouses. They're only going to be at dealerships, and yes, the price will be ridiculous. Sam saying when Ford realized the Godzilla or released the Godzilla, a lot of people were saying game over. It's not game over until they put it in a car. Right now, it's just a truck engine, although it is a really good engine. I mean, like obnoxiously good. Like, I'll put it to you like this. The Godzilla engine is built like an anvil. I mean, that thing is, so if they make a car version of it, remember, it wasn't that long ago, they were talking about de-stroking it to 6.8 liters. But I don't know if that ever happened. Or if they ever move forward with that, or if that's what they're going to do with the last GT500 or the next GT5. I don't have any idea. So I'm saying, I can't believe Racer X's 5.0 takes 10 quarts of oil. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Sovereign saying, say no to appliances on wheels. Sorry, hybrid works. Full EV does not. Actually, full EV does really well. The problem that you have with, Tad, thanks again, man. Saying, hey, Dodge, where are all those stage kits? So that's one of the things I was going to mention. The problem with stage kits is they can't get executive orders on any of them. They're not passing emissions. So with the new way that they're testing, with what they're going to have to do with catalytic converter over temp protection, it's going to take a lot of injector to get that kind of stuff to work. And I just don't see it working very well with 93 octane. It's just the way that it is. Realistically, you need ID 1000s. In other words, 100cc injectors to really make it work. A lot of the stage kits don't even have injectors that come with them. So kind of strange, kind of weird with that too, by the way. Again, listen, if I'm the smartest guy in the conversation, a lot of times that conversation is probably not that intelligent of a topic. But I got to tell you something. I know for a damn fact I could have done better bringing all of direct connection to market. And I also know for a fact I could have done way better organizing any releases that Dodge has had this year. This has been horrible, to say the least. But, you know, full EV, if it does work, I mean, look at Tesla. The problem is that we just don't know what the longevity of that's looking like just yet. It's not looking as well as we were promised for any of the EVs. I'm not picking on Tesla. It's just technology is not there yet. Steven saying the EV only makes sense as an inner suburb or city dweller that doesn't get driven much. I will agree to that. I've always thought that the city cars would be freaking sick to death as EVs. You know, something the size of one of those, you know, Hyundai little boxes on wheels with about 200 horsepower worth of electric power, which would feel like about 400 horsepower from stoplight to stoplight with the amount of torque that thing would have. And I mean, how could you not love scooting around in something like that in the city? It'd be a freaking riot as far as I'm concerned. Put a big rubber band around the thing, make bumper cars out of the thing. Look how much fun you could possibly have. You know, you could be sandwedging zombies all over the place like they still do in my adopted hometown of San Francisco. Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about. So in the city, these Prius drivers and any of the EV drivers are really quiet, and zombies are people that are on their phone while they're walking across the street, not really paying attention. They just kind of walk across the street. They'll walk right out in front of a car, and it's not uncommon. I watched one of them get shovel hooked damn near until the freaking afterlife right in front of me. A lady in a Prius just took out this cat on a phone. Luckily the guy wasn't hurt, but it's just, oh my God, this is the funniest. It's not funny. Again, listen, it's not funny, but it is, but it isn't. We're saving the planet, but we're killing people in the streets with these things. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that in the city, the EVs would be awesome. They really would be. And if you are only using the vehicle as a city commuter to and from work, probably going to be pretty good, unless it's in the middle of summer and you know you're stuck in a lot of traffic running the AC. Hopefully you've got enough range to get you there and back. Hopefully you plug the thing in. Hopefully your place where you work's got a Gazenta to where you can charge it. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those funny little things. But if you manage your car the right way, it'd be a great city car. It'd be a lot of fun too. Anyway, yeah, Tad, we're all those. But thanks again, Tad. I appreciate that, brother. Oh, Chuck saying, smash that like button, folks. Button, folks. Damn. What's in this Powerade? So we're saying like, share, subscribe. Yeah, guys, if you're new to the channel, smash that like button, share, comment. It really does help. Anything like that definitely helps the algorithms for the YouTubes. So like and ring that bell. That's the big one, so that you know whenever your brand new favorite noise generator comes on. Luke's saying his 04 Tundra has got 460,000 miles, original TUZ FE engine and trans. Let's see any EV car or truck see those miles. Yeah, that's the thing. You won't see that kind of stuff. It's funny. You know, you're talking about your Tundra's got damn near 500,000 miles on it. It's the same way with our fleet trucks. I mean, those things, we turn them in at 300,000 miles and they're running really good. These Dodges, the Rams, if you maintain them, they are some of the absolute best fleet trucks out there. And, but you're right. And nothing beats the older Tundras. 2UZs are sick when it comes to longevity. Jay Kicks asks, what's your opinion on upgrading my 1500 horse trans HP90 and my Chrysler 300 built 411 stroke? I don't want to spend $6,000 on it. Well, I mean, if you've already got I'm guessing is it a Southern Hot Rods deal that you've got? HP90 will handle a ton of power. So, I mean, we've run 900 horsepower to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno, no less. So an eddy current dyno with stock HP90s. So if you're running a 411 stroke, I'm guessing it's going to go turbo or boost or nitrous or a combination of that to get to necessitate that transmission. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to throw the kitchen sink at it, get it upgrade. If you're not, I probably wouldn't. If it's a stock HP90, they have a tendency to be a little bit rough when you start building them, so to speak. In other words, they're just real harsh transmissions, and not like in a cool way. They're just a little bit brutal, real hard on parts downstream. And I know guys that are going really fast with stock HP90s, so something to think about. Corn Pop saying EVs are fine as long as it's not rammed down your throat. Yeah, no kidding. Don't try to politicize a freaking powertrain, for crying out loud. It doesn't even make sense. Like I got other things to complain about, not how to buzz around town. It's weird. Let's see. Oop. Oh, Jay's saying it's got to get done. Well, I mean, if you're, I mean, I don't know everything about your build, but a 411 doesn't need a built. If you've got an HP90, an NA 411 doesn't need anything done to that HP90. Ardell saying, yes, the 5.0s do take 10 quarts of oil. That they do. That's kind of how it is. Oh, Chuck saying Black Ghost just a red eye with different cosmetics. Yep, that's exactly what it is. The bend over and take it be. Sam saying I can see them calling the 4-door Chargers being called Diplomat, but that's what I would do. I don't know. I mean, who knows? They're not going to bring back a C-body name for an EV though. But Diplomat is probably about right. Oh, Ardell's talking about the oil change and Sovereign's hanging out with Chuck. Ardell said about 2022 Hellcat is so much cheaper. Yeah, the problem is anytime you try to put into play forced collectability, it's not really going to sit well. Yeah, I don't know, Hemi Dad. Some guys like EVs just because they like them because they're quick. They're fun, and for some people, they're incredibly convenient. If I was in a position where I lived in the city and I didn't need a second car, I would. And I'm on record as saying if that were the case, then if you wanted to go across town or across the country, you just go rent a Suburban and do it right. There's always going to be a place for internal combustion, no question about it. Sovereign saying, yes, we had Fiat 500s we used for local service calls. It was nice, fast from stoplights, saved wear and tear on our personal vehicles. Talking about the Fiat 500e. That'd be a fun little car. But the range was abysmal and was limited to 85 miles an hour. Yeah, but for stuff like that, it's going to be fun. That's the whole idea. Let's see. I think EVs should be used as taxi cabs. I don't think they'd make a great taxi cab. I just don't think they've got the range to do it. And Chuck said, talking about he's probably smarter than the CEO. There's some things that I think I could do a little bit better than him. That's for sure. Chuck saying Modern Red did the HP90 swap. There's a few guys that have done the HP90 swaps now. Especially if you're NA, if you're building a stout NA combination, and legit stout, the HB70 will actually manage quite a bit of power. It's the torque at about 530 horsepower is when it gets kind of spooky. OC, thank you very much. Saying, okay, I'm on board with B. Mason to be the CEO of Stellantis. Let's go. Just say no to stickers. That's one thing. So the funny thing about it is that the number of sticker packages, and thank you very much, by the way. I really appreciate that, brother. Truly do. It's the sticker packages that are driving me nuts. Look, I get it if you want to make something kind of unique, something cool, something kind of different, something kind of, with some pop. And I guess that's the only reason why the Super Bee is the only one of these cars that makes any sense to me, because there is some function to the form that they're releasing. But everything else is just a sticker package. And I'm more, how am I going to try to put this? Okay. So each one is trying to out nostalgize the next one, right? So, or come up with some kind of a like bad guy name. You remember that South Park episode where everybody gives each other, it's like the mosquito, Midberry Crunch, and the human blender or whatever. That's kind of what it sounds like to me with these things. I'm the shakedown. I shake you down. Pew, pew. And then, we're the Swinger Twins, and it's like, Wonder Twin powers activate, It's like, Super B's like, God, am I really part of this? Is kind of embarrassing. And then like you got the gangster showing up, right? The 300C, which is the only one that has no stickers to it at all, right? It's just like, bro, I've been in like Dubai and Australia for the last 10 years. I just woke up. What's going on? And then like just like the rest of the packages, that it's just sticker packages on exact. And that's why I was going, look, the aftermarket is going to turn around and just go, oh, wait, you want to put the Super B? Hold on. Hey, Frank, get the picture. Just scan it. We'll make you a sticker. No problem. That'll be $59.99. You're going to have people running around with these stickers all over their car. It's just going to be a mess. So it's, I can't say that I don't like using the word embarrassed, but what other word is there? I mean, what other cringe-inducing word or what other cringe-inducing thing that they can do that you wouldn't use the word embarrassed? I mean, it's like, and they're pumping this stuff out. It's like they've got special edition diarrhea. Like they keep running back to the freaking pot, and it's just like, swingers, and it's like, oh, okay, swinger. And then somebody, runs off. Somebody go get the intern. We got to draw up some swinger stickers, and it's but time's running out. Why am I being sold mattresses here or cars? I'm waiting on Cal Worthington and his dog Spot to show up at this point. Anyway, if you're getting any of these references, you probably have an AARP card in the mail soon enough. But OC, thank you so much, brother. I really do truly appreciate that, my man. Chuck saying 69 Charger made with modern guts. I'd buy one. Hey, Chuck, check out the rebody for the Challenger. I don't know the name of the company, but just look up Google Challenger 2 Charger rebody or something like that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, for a rebody kit, it's actually legit. It looks good. I don't know how expensive it is, but I know it pulls about 400 pounds out of the car too. Sovereign saying it definitely doesn't sit well for Durango owners. Maybe Dad saying Suburbans are a bomb. Suburbans are legit. And OC, thank you, buddy. Sovereign saying OC, hey. Chuck saying I've driven an original 69 Charger many times and it is fun, but modern guts, affordable price, boom, I would buy it. One of the more interesting cars, and unfortunately I did not get a chance to play with this one. 69 Roadrunner 392 swap, Tremec 6-speed. It basically had somebody's swap headers and one of my cams in it, and unfortunately I never got to drive that car. Made decent enough power. I think it made like 450 on the Mustang dyno, so it would have been somewhere around 500, 505 on a dyno jet. But yeah, neat car. Again, the only downside to it is safety, but I don't know. Then again, it's probably just me seeing what has been done from an engineering standpoint as far as safety goes on a modern vehicle, and then knowing how those older cars act and being around them too. Let's see. So Derek's asking, do you think the new inline 6 turbo will be for the new CUDA? We don't know, brother. That's the problem. And we were hoping that something was going to be released at SEMA. It turns out it was going to be the last of the last call cars, which I actually, for some reason, thought that this was going to be, I don't even know what I thought. It was just a hope, really. It wasn't even a thought. But anyway, getting back to it, the reality is that will they come out with another platform? We don't know yet. There's a lot of things to consider. And one of the big issues that I've been really talking about in the past and it's not just me, guys. I didn't dream this stuff up. Other guys have been talking about this too. You have to have EVs and small economy, economical to the point cars, stuff that gets good gas mileage. You got to have that stuff on tap to bump up your CAFE numbers so that you can make gasoline powered hot rods. It's a like a blended margin, if you will. The muscle car is going to be your loss leader when it comes to economy, fuel economy in this case. And then everything else is going to be the stuff that raises that CAFE number, the corporate average fuel economy number. Well, if you've got all that working in your favor, you can make a hot rod. Dodge has never had that. And the problem with Dodge is that whenever they make small economical cars lately, they're complete flops. Golly. And this is going to pain me to say. I can't tell you how many, but I can tell you that it is the first car that I think of when I think of smoke coming out of a tailpipe. Darts and SXTs, that 6-cylinder. What is it with those things burning oil? I don't get it. Every one of them lately that I've seen has had some type of an oil burn problem. And one of them today was significant. It was a Dart. It's just one of those things where Dodge does not, I put it like this, Dodge is not synonymous with quality globally. And you got to have a small car that you can sell across major markets that keeps the revenue going, keeps the cash flow moving so that you can make hot rods and fun stuff. And without that, you're kind of dead in the water. Dodge has never really had that. You had vehicles like the Journey or the Nitro or the Dart that just never really did well. They had a terrible reputation for poor quality, and that 3.6, I don't know that it's got a lot of supporters out there either. Part of that, now let's be honest, probably upkeep and maintenance. But I don't know. When you see a lot of them on the road and about 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 is smoking, hell, look at some of the older minivans. It's not that they fail immediately, but dude. Anyway, again, I'll chalk it up to bad maintenance, but it's just stuff that you don't see in other brands. Yarmir, thank you. Saying I'm late. What did Dodge do? Well, it's more about what Dodge isn't going to do, which is show up to SEMA this year with a car to talk about. It seems as though Dodge has, run into some supply chain issues, which is code for they probably couldn't get an EO for whatever package they were trying to put together for that 7th and last. And by the way, rumored to be the baddest of the asses that they've been putting out there for these last call editions, all of which are based around existing platforms and operating systems. In other words, the same ECUs that they're using for everything else, they're putting in these cars, these last call cars. Well, those already have executive orders and those already passed emissions and everything's good to go with that. I think they were going to try to release something that was going to be a little bit more than basic offering that they've got. I say basic, they're not basic, but they're pre-existing is better use of the word or better use of terms here. And I have a feeling that thing just couldn't pass. And so again, just like with Direct Connection, where they had all these stage kits you're supposed to be able to get, but now you can't get because they won't pass emissions. Well, I think that may have been what happened with this car. Don't know. Personal opinion, personal speculation, I guess, but that's what happened with this. So whether Dodge shows up to SEMA or not, they're not showing up with the 7th last call. They're going to miss it. And a lot of folks are super pissed. And those that have got the chops to actually drop wallet and pick up one of those cars, are probably getting a little bit frustrated too. So, but Yarmir, thank you very much. Cool name, by the way. I like how you pulled Yarmir Yager up. Good one. But thank you very much for the contribution, brother. I really do appreciate it. I was saying, befriend Kevin Hart. Yeah, man, bummer about his car. His buddy wrecked his CUDA with Kevin in it. Damn near killed Kevin Hart. Ardell saying, my son owned an EV car and it stranded him so many times. He is a photographer and travels to do his job. He told me don't ever get one. They are cheap or they are crap. He lives by Sacktown. So yeah, one of my brothers-in-law is a photog also. Story time. So when I used to live in San Francisco, actually I lived just south of San Francisco, but lived in San Francisco. And we used to see the Tesla Roadsters buzzing around all over the place, and they would regularly be stranded on the side of the road smoking because their speed controllers, I guess, would overheat. Battery's saying, I'm a Mopar guy because of what they made, not because of what they are making, if that makes sense. Yeah, I get it 100%. See, when I was a kid, I was big into Mopar, and I wasn't big, like you couldn't tell me, well, the Mopar is not the fastest, but because fast to me was always kind of a subjective thing. Like you couldn't tell me, well, one's faster down the quarter mile than another because they're all pretty darn fast. My granddad raced Dodges, and so look at this Skeeter. Oh, it's not a Skeeter, it's a Gnat. Sorry, I've been taking out Skeeters lately, so I'm a little jumpy. I see something buzzing around here. We still got bugs, even though it cooled off. Anyway, I was always kind of into the Dodges. Some family connection there, but I just always liked the cars. I always thought they were cool looking. I always thought there was something neat about them. I always had that little extra touch to them that the other ones didn't, regardless of the performance, because to me, they were all fast. They all made a great sound, and they would all smoke tires. I mean, what more do you want? Derek saying, I think Dodge has psyched everyone out. EV Charger is not the 2024 model. I think it's a CUDA in both inline six turbo form and EV from CUDA. I don't know. We don't know anything about that. With all of the reports, we're screaming that we're getting an EV in 2024, but nobody's copped to it. Nobody's admitted that a 2024 model year EV is really going to be a thing. So my opinion of that now, especially after the last show, visiting with you guys, it just kind of, one of those things where it's like, man, I haven't really thought of it like that before. So the more I thought about it, it was, damn, we're not going to have an EV for 2024. The way this is going, it might be a 25, 6, 7 model year thing. And we could be without anything in the middle of this. That's why I was saying, I was hoping, so man, well, wait a minute. If that's really the case, would they have an intermediate platform based on the LX platform, which, it doesn't have to be an L platform, but, is there going to be an intermediate platform leading into the EV? Now that would be really cool. And it could potentially be a direct line of sight competitor to that Mustang Coyote. Both of them have about 500 horsepower. You see where I'm going with this? I mean, it started to be real romantic. It was like, oh shit, okay, this is working out. This is cool. This is kind of getting me worked up here. And then come to find out, initially in that, I don't know, the interview, if you will, that Tim Kaniskis gave, it was really more leaning towards, well, we're going to have more EV offerings at Sema. Well, that actually turned out to be 100% false, because now it was looking like it was going to be an internal combustion engine. And this is the other thing that for whatever reason is kind of frustrating for me. Whether you want to call it, I don't want to call it a lie, but because you're always going to keep your cards close to the vest, right? But man, how are you going to talk about this thing like it's not even in the room, right? Like everybody saw what you were everybody can see the silhouette under the car cover. Was that going to be an EV, a hybrid of some kind, or was it going to be something like that? HP has a hybrid-based transmission, or at least a transmission that can house a hybrid platform. That pancake motor, I think, was it like 150 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque, whatever. The battery for that system wouldn't be much really to have to worry about. I mean, you could incorporate a rear seat delete and put it back there and not really pay a huge penalty for it. So, yeah, I think, okay, well, maybe that's what it's going to be, a hybridized anyway. Long story short, lots of wishful thinking, lots of hopes, and it just looks like it wasn't going to happen like that. But we don't even know because they won't even talk about it. Max asking, what's the most power you've seen from an NA392? Well, the thing is you've got to kind of qualify a little bit of that. So with the stock intake manifold and basically a street type cam, about the most that I've seen is like 517 to the rear wheels on a dyno jet. Now, I have heard of cars with more cam, significantly more valve spring, CNC ported heads, and a sniper, and not a sniper, was it a sniper? Holley high ram intake. So that necessitates not running a hood or cutting a hole in your hood, LS style, basically. I've heard of some of those getting 530, 540, 550, really starting to gain some altitude there. But that takes RPM. And so that's just something you got to know coming into this, is that you're going to have to turn the thing 72, 7,400 RPM to really get those kind of numbers. And I don't know that that's a practical way to go about getting the power with that type of an intake. The Edelbrock Victor intake manifold, which is basically a slightly improved version of the 6.1, which is barely about the same or slightly better than the 5.7 intake manifold. The Vic basically is like having a 6.1 with just bigger diameter runners. I've heard of some of those picking up power through the upper mid-range and maybe being able to crest 510, somewhere in that range, with a fairly healthy camshaft. And when I say fairly healthy, I'm talking, 232 on the intake side, 240-ish on the exhaust side, 1 7/8 long tube headers. But you kind of have to run those with a tight lobe separation angle, which gets into converters and all this other stuff. It just depends on how you want to make your power. So when you start talking about the most power, one versus the next, it gets a little bit, it can get a little bit dicey. Also, because some of those cars that make really good power, it never really translates to the car being really fast or at least fun to drive. What ends up happening is you end up with a car, if you have too wide of a lobe sep and you've got too short of a runner, what ends up happening is you get this power curve that will come up and it will flatten out and it just will plateau. You'll have this tabletop of power that just keeps going and going and going. And the reason for that is you end up with a lot of cylinder head, a wide lobe separation angle, which is trying to push all your power way to the right on that power band, but you just aren't flowing enough air in general to keep making this thing make power, or you don't have a tight enough LSA to make peak mid-range torque to have a more traditional power curve with this thing. What that means is you're dragging power out. It's kind of like the same idea as if you're just kind of smearing the power across the page, as opposed to having, a nice chunky curvy power curve. So the thing with that type of a power curve is that on the highway, it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. It's like a coyote at that point. It just keeps, you're dragging the power out. And you've got this torque curve that is always going down and this horsepower that's always staying flat. It's not great for acceleration, but it's good for going fast on the top end. Happens to work really well with nitrous oxide too, by the way. But when you start to, talk about mosts and maxes and things like that, I've driven cars with 700. I've actually helped put together cars that the guys loved because they were fast on the highway, but they were some of the slowest 700 plus horsepower to the rear wheel on a Mustang dyno car that you would ever be behind the wheel of. It's just that the damn things just kept pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And that's with a Pro Charger. But that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to, have that 170, 180 mile an hour blast capable car. And that's one of the easiest ways to do it. But I'll put it to you like this, from a streetable point of view, some of the more fun combinations, again, 228, 236 cam, fairly tight LSA of like 113, 112 with a, either a stock intake or with a Victor, that Edelbrock I was just talking about. That's one of the better intakes. I think that combination, even or a 232, 240 cam on a Mustang dyno make around 440, 450, and on a dyno jet somewhere around 505, 507, 508. But again, anything more than that, and you got a converter, it becomes an issue, and the streetability of the car starts to lack, and it gets real choppy, which is really cool for about 20 minutes. And then you're like, God, this thing just won't idle right. It wants to buck, and then it gets real touchy on the throttle. The tighter the LSA, the snappier that thing will get, but it just makes tuning it a nightmare. Sovereign's hanging out with Bad Tree. Let's see. Cal saying putting a unicorn on the hood would be embarrassing. Sovereign saying special edition diary. It's what it is. Derek saying Dodge is tripping big time for sure. Hemi Dad's bringing up a good point too. For what it costs to get these new cars, you can get some sweet actual classics. I'm thinking of saving up and getting a first gen Challenger or a second gen Charger and calling it done for Dodge. So my wife and I were actually talking about this at one point, and we'll send each other car pictures and stuff like that. Just, hey, look at this. Like, I'll send her van pictures or something, and she'll send me cool truck pictures and stuff like that. And anyway, I was going back and forth, and I'll always crack her with Lincoln Mark III pictures. I love Lincoln Mark III. It's my favorite all-time cars. And anyway, I'll hit her up with that, or I'll hit her up with like 68 Roadrunner pics, or things like that. And even she was like, dude, why don't you just go ahead and pull the trigger and get one of those things? And I was like, yeah. The problem is what would you do with it? Like, you'd have to have an overdrive transmission at least, or at least put a gear vendors in the thing. I would definitely want to build a Max Wedge 440, for the car. And now we're talking even more money, and that's, chassis stiffening. And by the way, sorry, if you can't. So we're located next to Velocito, and it's a really pretty night. Lots of guys heading out. So you may hear that going by every once in a while. If the guys see the lights on, they'll pipe it up as they're running by. So you may hear or see that. But anyway, we were kind of talking about it, and it's like, yeah, I just, as much as I would like to put together a build like that, it's unfortunately not economically feasible. Plus, you just never know what you're going to get with some of these classics. You actually need to pay somebody $300 or $400 to take the car, put it on a lift, give it a good once over, put the car through its paces, and basically, treat the thing like it's under investigation, because it is. and go through the whole thing. These cars are older. They've had a lot of hands all over them in terms of, repairs, dents, dings, minor crashes, things like that. If those things aren't repaired up to a very high level, you're going to be running into some problems with those classics. That's the only thing that's kept me away from it. I do like Sierra and I do like Foxy, but it's just you start to notice big time differences from one generation to the next in terms of how solidly they're planted to the ground, quality, and everything else. There's definitely a lot of difference. Sovereign's liking the 68 Charger. That's my favorite year. And again, Yarmir, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Big time. Just blew past everybody. Time out. Hang on. Wow, how did I manage that? Skid say, if we're talking to Resto Mod, still dream of a 68 Cornet RT with a 6.4 and 6-speed manual, if you're listening, God. So what I wanted to build a 63, 64 Savoy. That was one of the ones that, and just do a super stock clone. And I was really torn between modern Hemi swap and just building a 426 max wedge, which to me would be a kind of a cooler setup with 727 a gear vendors and 411 gears. And that would be, to me, my ultimate fun street car all the way around. I mean, either 411s or 373s. I don't know, with that motor combination would be tough, but it would just be something that would be a riot to drive. Then you just flip the gear vendors on to go on the highway, or hit the gear vendors when you're at the track so you can mile an hour on the back half. So, Sovereign saying he doesn't like the 70 Charger as much. Yeah, I can see that. Chuck saying the Challenger is my favorite, though, of all time. I'm trying to remain positive despite the direction of Dodge. Yeah, trying to hold on to that, loyalty. If we're talking old stuff too, by the way, you guys know I'm a big C-body fan, and so, I'd even be in on some of that stuff. Actually, I like those, and I'm actually kind of a big fan of the later Chargers with the chrome grille all the way around. I know somebody said giant square chrome trim, not feeling it. I actually like it. Me dad saying I like the 70 front end. I like all of them. That's like, for me, I always felt that the Mopars just had a look, like I like that look. And again, I get the big block Chevy thing. You can make them really scream and all of that. But on the street, man, it's tough to beat some of these Mopars. X is saying, what up, Professor B? Got the flex. Sovereign saying, Dodge Dart. The 330s style, yeah, for sure. Hang on. Hit the wrong button over here. Yarmir saying he got a recall for oil recently for his Dart. I mean, it could be valve seats. It could be anything. I have no idea what the headache is with those things, but I can tell you that they do cause some problems for guys. Chuck saying, Hemi Cudas, Roadrunners, Cornet, Super B, Challengers. I was born too late, man. I hear you. This kid saying, Chuck, you and me both. The trick. See, here's the funny thing, and a lot of guys, the problem with those cars is that, yeah, they were very affordable back then. I mean, even dollar for dollar, they were cheap. Okay. And guys treated them like that. And a lot of them were wrecked. A lot of them were dinged up, banged up, ragged out. Most of these cars that we're talking about at some point in their life were back of the lot cars. And For you guys that may not be familiar with what that means, back of the lot is literally like a used car guy would go to a salvage place, or he would go to an auction. And, let's say this is 1978 and there's this 68 Roadrunner that nobody wants, ragged out, needs brakes, motor's got a weird tick to it, transmission doesn't shift right. It's the 70s, everything smelled like cigarette smoke, but you get the idea. Paint's a little bit weird, got a dent in the back fender, the whole bit. So anyway, you would buy this thing for nothing because nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to put any money into this thing. A couple of rust holes here and there, and it'd go into the back of the lot. Mechanic special, the fixer-upper side of the lot, and kids would go pick them up and they would buy them, and fix them up, drive them around. You'd see them smoking, driving around. It's just, that's what these things were when they were back then. They're just back of the lot cars, which is a shame because a lot of really cool cars got sent to an early grave because of the fact that they were just cheap back then. Chuck's saying $3 to $5 grand for a brand new muscle car off the lot. Yeah. In fact, it was good times for those guys back then. Sovereign saying, on another note, I was born when the F-14 Tomcat rolled off the line. Nice. So Stephen, saying, would it be that hard for Dodge to goose the cafe number by producing a cool little hybrid coupe? That's what they did with the Hornet. It's not a coupe, but the thing is that per market research, most folks now are leaning more towards 4 doors than they are 2 doors. So, Sam's saying he saw a mint Aries K. Buy that thing, save it, dude. Talking about thinking about saving it. That would be a sick daily. Sovereign's liking a 69 Coronet. Chuck's trying to get that the Hemi Cuda. I can understand that, man. Yeah, 69. Skids is saying 69 is sweet too. See, he likes the 68. He's like me. I like the 68s. Chuck said, I want to drive that fucker. Be a fucking. Actually, so the Hemi car. The weird thing about the Hemi, if you've driven a 440, I tell you what, drive the Hemi first. Is that really the best advice to give you? Damn. Okay, so if you want to make the 440 look really good, drive the Hemi first. If you want to make the Hemi look good, drive a small block car and then drive the Hemi. Let me tell you why. The Hemi's a weird bird. It is the equivalent of driving like the most pissed off stroker small block that you can possibly imagine, like a big headed 411 cubic inch small block Chevy with like AFR big ass heads. The reason why I compare it to that is because that's kind of how it makes power. It doesn't really come alive until 4,500 RPM. Okay. But when it comes alive, it's like having 2 engines in one. It's like having a really lazy small block and a really pissed big block all in one. The 440, on the other hand, is like having a big block that is only going to spin to 4,500 to 5,000 RPM. And so the 440, the reason why the Hemi didn't sell well is because if you gave somebody a test drive and they didn't leg out the Hemi, they would tell you that the 440 is far and away more powerful than the Hemi, even though you know the Hemi will catch it at the drag strip, potentially. It's that you have to stretch that thing so far to get where you need it to be. And so a lot of guys, if they drive a Hemi powered car, unless it's got 411 gears in it, it feels like a turd. And the 440 with 354 gears feels like a powerhouse. So the ones that I've driven were kind of massaged versions of the 426 and Hemis. And they were interesting cars for me. It was like, wow, and these are like mint varieties of these cars. We're not talking about like some clapped out, whatever. These are pretty well sorted Hemis. And the 440s, the wedge guys are just like, yeah, go take that Hemi for a drive and then come back. We'll go for a ride in this 440, and you'll see why Vanishing Point and, all the rest, Bullet, everything else was a 440 car. Anyway. But the Hemi is the goal car, and for good reason. Now, if you take the Hemi and you put a solid roller cam in it and put a good intake manifold on it, single 4-barrel with a 950 HP Holley and a good set of 2-inch long tube headers and the right exhaust, it is a completely different engine. But you need to go 12-to-1 compression, just like the old race Hemis were. Street Hemi's one thing, race Hemi is a completely different animal. Let's see. Mac is asking, why do I always see people bash the 392 online when it comes to making more power than stock? People complain. First of all, they're coming from a place of ignorance. The 392 is incredible from the factory. That's both its blessing and its curse. I'll give you an idea. The Chevrolet 6.2 liter, what is that, 455 horse? The problem is that the Chevy has hardly any cam and a really good intake manifold, and it makes 455 horsepower. The 392 has got a more aggressive camshaft than that 6.2 liter, which is basically the same displacement. Has a okay intake manifold, but the cam and everything about that car is designed to get 4,400 pounds moving. So it makes a bunch of torque and it makes a ton of mid-range at the expense of some top-end power. And that's great for the street. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's a freaking barge to get moving. It's a big-ass car. And so it makes a lot of power in that respect. People dog it because they say, you put a cam in, it only picks up 30 to 45 horsepower. And it's like, dude, yeah. And the LS will pick up 65 to 70 horsepower. It's like, yeah, the LS has amazing cylinder heads, just like the Hemi. For a wedge head, they are very hard to beat. At the same time, they're under-cammed. So the same camshaft specs will pick up more in the Chevy because it's starting 35 horsepower less than the 392. And that's where you just go, dude, you're not, like, that's not, you have to, if logic were to dictate how this conversation would go, they wouldn't have arguments over this. Be like, oh yeah, I understand it completely. So that's why, basically. It's saying, hell, I'd buy a coffee for a ride talking about the old school stuff for sure. Ardell saying he was born and raised in Vallejo. Hang out with Sears Point. Would love to go there. Would have loved to. Before it was Sonoma. I never got a chance to go, and it killed me. My home track ended up being Thunder Hill. Chuck's saying it, Mac. Yeah, no matter what you drive, there's always somebody bashing it for sure. There's always somebody that's got to cry about something. You know, and it's just, it's, you know, there's always going to be some level of brand loyalty and all of that ends up getting thrown into the mix. But, you know, it's one thing when you, it's one thing when you don't get it from a, you know, I'm just going to talk shit, man. There's that. And then there's, you know, some people are just negative. They want to see things in a negative light, no matter where they're coming from. And that's where I think a lot of the hate comes from with that. Yeah, you know, the 392 doesn't make any power. The 392 doesn't like boost. The 392 loves boost. That's the other side of this. You know, you go with a Pro Charger with a different cam, especially if you went with a tight low SEP cam, at least relative to the stock cam. You go that route with a D1X in a race intercooler, it'll make more power than the transmission can handle at 7 or 8 pounds of boost. So, and believe me when I tell you, yeah, it's going to cap out around 550. 575 to the rear wheels. That's 125 horsepower gain at that boost level. It's going to run good, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be streetable power. And not everybody is looking to make 800 horsepower to the rear wheels. Ask anybody that's making 800 horsepower to the rear wheels how cool that is. I mean, yeah, it's neato mosquito for about 6 months, and then you start seeing parts come off the car if they haven't, you know, had other issues with it. You start seeing people selling those kits. It's because you can't do anything with the car at that power level. But that 550-ish horsepower to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno, it's a lot of fun. Don't knock it till you try it. Looks like Himmy Dad is checking out. I'm just going to pick some of you guys out here. Starting to get a little bit deep into the comments. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but starting to run a little bit short on time here. So Corn Pop saying Nick's garage. I'm just going to put his 426 in that and may have thought otherwise. I know he sold that engine. SRT, Hellcat, Christine was not a 64 Dodge 330. I just kind of bumped into that. Christine, technically, if you read the book, Christine is a 58 Plymouth Belvedere, and she's a 4-door in the book, by the way. In the movie, Christine is a red and white 2-door Belvedere that is badged as a Fury. So, 58 Belvedere badged as a Fury. Actually, the gold and white would have made it a Fury. But in the book, remember, the original Christine is actually a 4-door. Awesome looking car too, man. I have always loved the late 50s Dodges and DeSotos. Always were my favorite. I never could see the allure of, I mean, I did, but of the Tri-5 stuff, right? I mean, Ford didn't really have anything until the early to mid 60s that I was attracted to. But for me, I always loved the 57, 58, 59 DeSotos and Belvederes. I always thought those were such awesome looking cars. And I know that the 58 gets more press, but the 59 Belvedere is a really good looking car. As a matter of fact, we've got a guy here in town that's got a red and white 59 Belvedere, and it is sick to death, fellas. That thing is nice looking. So we're saying 4 doors, no. You know what's funny is lately there's a lot of push for 4-door cars right now. A lot of people are moving more to the 4-door versions of the older cars because you can get them for a lot less money and you can still have a lot of fun with them. I mean, you'll see that in Chevelles. You see it in everything right now. So, and in other parts of the world, 4-doors are the go-to hot rod. So, oh, Chuck's asking, I wonder how the 440 compares to the 425 flathead Buick. Oh, dude, you're talking about the nail head? It's they're actually fairly comparable. The Wildcat motors, they're fairly comparable. The 440 makes more torque just from displacement. The heads on those older Buicks were kind of like the 440 head with small ports. Real torquey. The Buicks were rated in torque too, by the way. Let's see. I'm just kind of picking out some of you guys here at random here. BA saying direct connection. Just give me 331 gears and a tune for my Scatty. Guys, I've been saying that for a long time. Like direct connection, like I'm trying to channel them. Direct connection. 331 gear set. How is it that difficult? I mean, it can't be that hard, right? Anyway, I never could understand why it was either 309 or 370 gear as an option. You mean to tell me that there's not a place for a 323 gear or a 331 gear? Mathematically, that would be ideal. Sorry, I'm just picking, like I said, I'm just picking some stuff out at random now, guys. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here pretty quick. 426. Sam's talking about an e-torque. I wouldn't mess with e-torque, guys. The e-torque thing is neat. It does a couple of kind of cool things, but I mean, I certainly wouldn't pay extra for it, and I wouldn't go through the headache with them either because the e-torque doesn't really help you on acceleration. By the way, if you guys haven't seen it, check out the latest Stormy update. 1417 got her to hook, and it's some fancy foot, not going backwards, but it's like, yeah, just kind of rolling into the throttle. And like, if I feel the truck shift, or I feel the truck, if I hear it like start to light the tires just a little bit, it's like, just kind of slowly rolling into it. She hooked and booked 1417, and legit, it was 16, according to the drag strip, which has the DA. In fact, if you guys haven't downloaded that, in fact, let's see what the DA is right now at the drag strip. It is hrpslips.com. It looks like that. It's loading it up. Sliding it over. DA right now is 1,000 feet, 52 degrees, 50% humidity. What do you think I'm going to be doing when I leave here? I need to go put a little bit of gas in it, though. It's a little bit light. Early this morning, DA was 576. Anyway, we're getting some pretty decent air down here right now, so I may be out playing around just a little bit. SRT saying not the book or movie version, but the real Christine. I don't know what that means. You'll have to educate me. Oh, thank you, Sovereign. But with that, guys, I have got to wrap it up. In fact, I got to wake up crazy early. Guys, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out with me. Would not do this without you. Love each and every one of y'all. Remember, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. Guys, have a great rest of your week. We will catch y'all on the next one. And that is a wrap. Adios.